evening, Nigerians, and welcome to another edition of Electricity Town Hall, a program being sponsored by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC), aimed at keeping consumers of electricity abreast of happenings in the nation's power sector. This program comes your way every Monday on the network service of Radio Nigeria at 7 o'clock in the evening. NERC is the regulator for the nation's power sector, interfacing with electricity generation companies known as GENCOs, the Transmission Company of Nigeria (TCN), and the distribution companies (DISCOs). I am David Umar Yoranka. The Nigerian electricity supply industry (NERC) is a framework for electricity generation, transmission and distribution in Nigeria. It's a critical sector that plays a vital role in Nigeria's economic development, fueling industries and improving the standard of living. However, the NERC faces ongoing challenges such as providing reliable and affordable power to a growing population. One area that has remained critical has been the distribution sector, where consumers are given electricity and in turn required to pay for services rendered. Owing to issues surrounding electricity supply, consumption, bills, electricity theft and consumer protection, the federal government has introduced several initiatives geared towards protecting the consumer while also providing the investor the enabling environment to get returns on their investment. Today, the edition focuses on the importance of service-based tariff (SBT) and how customers can leverage on the initiative to get value for their money in the power sector. These and more will be interrogated tonight on Electricity Town Hall as we look at SBT in the Nigerian electricity supply industry (NERC). We have in the studio a principal manager from the Economic Regulation Division of the Commission, Olisa Chukwuma.
Thank you, David. Good evening, Nigerians. It's a pleasure to be here.
Also, we have in the studio Deputy Manager from the Economic Regulation Division of the Commission, Benga Osho.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to be here.
Also with us is the Deputy Manager, Stakeholder Management Division of the NERC, Simon Sunday.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
And we have Abdulaziz Alogwa, who is a Senior Manager, Economic Regulation Division of NERC.
Good evening, David, and thank you, listeners, for joining.
Tonight, talking about SBT, which is the service-based tariff. Why service-based tariff? Olisa, I'll start from you.
Thank you very much, David. The Commission, in fulfillment of its role as the regulator, tasked with the responsibility of setting tariffs, has designed this framework that aligns the customer experience with the tariff they pay. The foundation of it is the availability of infrastructure to serve people. It will interest you to note that the SBT commenced in 2020 at the outcome of public consultations that were held with the DISCOs and customers, where the suggestion was brought forward to classify customers on the basis of the hours of supply that the DISCOs will be able to provide to the customers. So the broad categories were identified, and to keep it simple, 5 broad categories were listed. We have the Band A, guaranteeing a minimum of 20 hours, Band B, a minimum of 16 hours, Band C, 12 hours, Band D, 8, and Band E, 4 hours. Now, this largely was as a result of the available infrastructure, transformers, lines, to be able to provide this minimum at that point in time. And the tariffs were now classified according to those lines of service. Of course, it didn't get much into the public interest until there became a significant difference between Band A and all of the others. That's where people now started to recognize their bands of service, which was in 2024, early last year, but the bands have actually been in place since 2020, and that was the foundation of the SBT.
If only you had even got into that particular question before I asked it. I was going to ask you, how do I know which band I am? But you just mentioned that by virtue of the supply hours you have, that's how you get to know. But away from that, how do I get to know my band?
Okay, for postpaid customers, customers who receive their bills at the end of the month, it's normally printed on your bill. As the utility or the disco brings your bill for you, you see clearly which band you are on. However, we do know that a lot of customers go to vend, they buy either online, and it may not be stated there. Now, the Commission has made it mandatory for all discos to have a portal on their website. So you go, you key in either your meter number or your account number, and then it gives you information. It tells you the feeder you're on. The feeder, I mean the electricity line that brings supply to your house. They are all uniquely identified, and it tells you the band that you are on. So all of this information goes in a long way to help you identify with the hours of supply that you are getting, and to be able to know, for you to say, am I getting these hours of supply, and where I'm on, where I'm not, what do I do in such a case?
Thank you very much for setting the foundation for this conversation, having to know what service-based tariff is and how also to know what band you are on based on the service-based tariff. I'll come to you now, Abdulaziz. I'm not getting the service under band A. What do I do?
Okay, if you are a band A customer, you are expected to receive a minimum of 20 hours of supply on average every month. So where you do not get a minimum of 20 hours, a number of things would or could happen. One of it is the fact that you will be compensated for the failure of the distribution company to provide you the minimum of 20 hours average daily supply for a month. Now, if the failure persists for more than 7 days, wherein your distribution company is not able to provide you this minimum daily average, minimum 20 hours, then your band, or your feeder rather, will be downgraded from a band A to the appropriate band that reflects the number of hours of service that you enjoy. So in terms of service delivery, it's being monitored by the Commission on a monthly basis, and the compensation mechanism is also effected on a monthly basis, same as the downgrade of customers to reflect the number of hours they receive and the band or the tariff upon which they are charged.
Again, from your experience and monitoring, have you ever come across a point where a disco that's not able to supply as much as that, maybe for just a few days, decides to underreport what it was, more like give it an excuse just to avoid a penalty? How do you investigate to monitor to make sure that what they're reporting is actually what happened for them not to be able to provide such service or deliver those hours promised?
First, like I mentioned, the discos are mandated to publish the hours of supply for a 7 days continuous period on their website. Anytime where the disco is able to meet the minimum hours of supply for a band A, the disco is expected to state the reason. Now, from the commission does a daily monitoring of this performance and facts check whatever the disco has reported. It will be good to know that the industry has systems and institution that monitors and has visibility into generation, availability, and also delivery. So you have, for example, an institution called the NISO, which has the system operator and the market operator. The Commission also has instituted a portal where discos report their daily performance, and so beyond what the disco reports by themselves, there is also this portal where data is also being gathered from. Additionally, the Commission is also further going ahead to institute technological independent double-way communication IoT technology to monitor the distribution infrastructure of this utility to be able to independently and on a real-time basis determine the provision and performance level of discos, particularly with respect to Band A hours of service.
Okay, in a case where a customer was not informed before migration to a particular band, what happens in that case?
Okay, so it's a bit funny. Now, as a customer who was not informed before we migrated to a Band A, the Commission would typically expect the utility to demonstrate its ability to provide the minimum of 20 hours to a feeder before the feeder can be presented to the Commission and or approval granted by the Commission for the DISCO to migrate such feeder. So the first thing that the customer experiences typically is the customer would experience increased hours of supply.
Okay.
So any customer that previously does not have minimum of 20 hours but starts to enjoy 20 hours should please take that as an informal communication that migration is on the way. After the DISCO has provided a minimum of 20 hours consecutively, then the DISCO is expected to make a representation to the Commission. The Commission will review the performance, and if found worthy, the Commission grants approval for such a band to be migrated to Band A. Expectedly, the DISCOs are mandated to publish the order that contains the approval for the migration of feeders on their website. Additionally, customers are expected to be informed by their distribution companies of such migration. So, where a customer enjoys service, we do expect that the customer should take the improved service as an informal communication.
Okay, now that's for a customer who didn't ask for it. Talking about a customer who now wants it, Benga, can a customer migrate to other bands of services?
The answer is there are mechanisms to explore if a customer would like to move to a higher band. Generally, the Commission encourages customers to make representation to their utility, that's the distribution company, on the need for improved services and the current challenges they are facing and why they need an improved service. They may copy the Commission in this communication, just for transparency or to get oversight on it. And the DISCO is obligated to meet with the customer to see how they can resolve that. So where a customer is the one that would like to trigger a migration to a higher band, they can explore it and they can actually communicate with their utility. But I should also add that service levels are not just about what you want, it's tied to infrastructure. So where the infrastructure exists, I'm quite sure the utility will be obliged to meet them at that level. But where it's not, there might be a plan to make better investments for them to be able to meet that improved service level.
Okay, in a nutshell, what the customer wants must align with the capacity of the service provider as it is. Thank you so much, Benga. You're listening to Electricity Town Hall on the network service of Radio Nigeria, a program being sponsored by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC. We'll take a short break, and when we return, of course, Simon is still in the room with us, and we'll be speaking to Band B, Band E, the tariffs, whether they're going to stay as they are or they will go up. But not to worry, he's right here and he'll break it to us. Stay with us.
This is Electricity Town Hall on the network service of Radio Nigeria. We will be back shortly.
You don't hear about service-based tariff, SBT? This one na system wey dey make sure say the money wey you dey pay for light dey match the kind service wey distribution companies, DISCOs, dey give you. See, they put customers for band A to E depending on how many hours of light wey dem dey get every day. For example, band A customers suppose to dey get light at least 20 hours daily. With CBT, customers dey pay fair price wey match the light wey dem actually dey get, and the tariff go adjust according to the supply level wey you get. If your light outage pass the limit wey dem allow, SBT go make sure say your disco compensate you and send you message for SMS and email about the service failure. Through SBT, NERC dey promote openness and better electricity service delivery. For more information, visit www.nerc.gov.ng. NERC, make light dey shine well well.
We are back with Electricity Town Hall on the network service of Radio Nigeria.
Welcome back. It's still Electricity Town Hall on the network service of Radio Nigeria, and we're discussing the importance of service-based tariff (SBT) in the Nigerian electricity supply industry, NERC. We've been speaking with Principal Manager from the Economic Regulations Division of the Commission, Olisa Chukwuma. Thank you very much for your contribution so far.
Thank you, David.
Okay, we also have a Deputy Manager from the Economic Regulations Division of the Commission, Benga Osho.
It's nice to be here.
Likewise, another Deputy Manager, this time from the Stakeholders Management Division of NERC, Simon Sunday.
It's very nice to be here too.
And I can bet you that's the voice of the man many people will be waiting to hear on this very half of the program. We also have a Senior Manager, Economic Regulations Division of NERC, Abdulaziz Alogwa.
Nice to be back.
Thank you so much. And we wrapped up the first half with you, and I'll just begin with you before I get over to Simon. Now, Abdulaziz, customers' meters show that they are on band B, but they are billed on band A. How can this be resolved?
Okay, where a customer's meter shows that that customer is on band B, but the customer is billed on band A, then there's an obvious error. So the Commission has the Customer Protection Regulation, as you've mentioned previously, and part of the provision of that regulation includes the Customer Complaint Redress Mechanism, which is a robust framework that has detailed provision on how customer complaints should be addressed, with specific timelines and escalation. So what the customer should do first is to approach the utility and ensure that that is resolved. Please permit me to mention at this time that customers should avoid obtaining meters through illegal channels. Whenever a customer is in need of a meter, please ensure you get it from the official channel of your distribution company, because it could actually lead to some of these problems that you've mentioned. So once the customer approaches his utility, expectation is that it should be resolved. If not, then customer takes it on to the forum office, and from there we do expect that it is resolved. Otherwise, it then gets escalated to the Commission, where it would also be resolved.
Thank you very much. When you mentioned about people buying their meters from the legal channel and all, and I'm asking myself, why would anyone want to go and buy a meter from the black market when you know that if it's been tampered with, it's definitely an issue? Okay, now coming to you, Simon, why is band B rate so high? And will the amount paid by band B and A ever come down?
All right, thank you, David. This is quite a significant question.
That's why we've reserved you for this time.
That a lot of consumers will want to know, okay, why is band A rate so high? Basically, it comes with a lot of infrastructure. The first time is when this band adjustment was planned by the Commission, and for getting approval from the distribution companies. The first thing the Commission wanted was the distribution companies have adequate infrastructure to ensure they provide minimum 20-hour power supply. Like we said, 20-hour power supply daily, averagely, is actually the minimum. And when that was established for some of the distribution companies, we looked at their data and everything and said, okay, this is what you have, X, Y, Z, but we can only approve X, the feeders. So for instance, a disco could come with maybe 1,000 feeders and say this 1,000 feeders can provide 20-hour minimum daily power supply. and we look at all the indices involved, and we said no, it can't. Okay, we're going to approve 500. That was exactly what the commission did in 2024, precisely in April, when this banding adjustment of tariff came up. And like I said, it's about a lot of infrastructure. The costing of infrastructure is quite high, and maybe that's the reason you see it. But the ultimate goal there is to ensure that every Nigerian has improved power supply, and that is what Band A is about. 20-hour minimum. There are people who have gotten even up to 22 hours, and they could testify to that. And there are those who have gotten that 20-hour, and we have even had issues of people who couldn't get up to 20 hours, and they have been, downgraded and even compensated, as in we had said. Now, coming to the second part, the second leg of this, will it ever go down? Yes, of course, it will ever go down. For instance, when it started, when the commission, gave approval for this tariff in 2024 April, it started at 225 naira per kilowatt hour. Shortly after, a month after, the tariff dropped after recalculating, the macroeconomic indicators and others. It dropped to 206 naira 25 kobo per kilowatt hour. And then because we actually said it, we announced it that it was going to be a monthly tariff. And since April, I assure you that we have been reviewing this tariff on a monthly basis. The commission has been doing that. So subsequently, the tariff, after our review again, we approved that, okay, the Band A tariff should go up to 209 naira 50 kobo. That's a slight increase. And since then, for nearly, I could say even 1 year now, that tariff has been there, and that is because there is also the policy side of it. The federal government has also been managing subsidy, and as such, even the Band A, it is not the utmost so far. I'm talking about the cost being paid. It's not like the maximum so far. Somebody is somewhere bearing the differentials.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I'm sure when you said, of course, it will come down, I'm sure so many people were excited to hear that come down. But I hope they will welcome the second part of this conversation with the same mindset. But maybe to prepare their mind and see if they'll welcome it better, let me take it from the point of sports. We have the Premiership, we have Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. So let's take Band A to be the Premiership, Division 1, 2, 3, and all of that. Will Band B to E, the tariff, will they be promoted to the Premier League someday as Band A?
Mr. Dave, I think I like your sense of sportsmanship, I must confess. But good thing is, yes, I would say yes. The first part is Premiership. When you say Premiership, we're also talking about premium service.
Exactly.
Nigerians, we do not want the second-class Nigerians. We want every Nigerian to be the first class of Nigerians that truly there should be. And what we want is improved electricity services. So, by that, if you ask me of Band B, Band C, and D, the ultimate goal is to ensure that everybody is migrated to the highest level of service improvement. So definitely that is very true. But let me tell you how tariff also works. When you talk about tariff reviews and everything, there are a lot of things, that the building blocks that go into tariff composition, like what we use in Nigeria, the MITO, that's multi-year tariff order. That's what we use. And inside these building blocks, we have the macroeconomic indicators or macroeconomic indices. The average Nigerian now, thanks to National Bureau of Statistics, they know a lot about inflation and others. So we have the inflation there. We have the foreign exchange rate. Then we also have generation capacity. So, and then even the United States inflation rate, because some of the things we buy, for the generation companies, especially most of those companies are dollarized. So all these factors go into the calculation of tariff. And you and I have seen so far that inflation is dropping. So if you tell me that will the tariff Band B and D and others go, definitely we are all observing the macroeconomic indicators. And then there's another part to it, which is policy. Government bringing in subsidy and others to ensure, like I told you earlier, tariff has not gone up for band B to D to E since 2022 December.
And we're really praying that it stays that way. Thank you so much.
you.
The discos, the NERC, they're always customer friendly, I would say, at this point. And this is where we end today's edition of Electricity Town Hall on the network service of Radio Nigeria. I've been speaking with the principal manager from the Economic Regulation Division of the Commission. That's talking about NERC, Olisa Chukuma. Thank you once again for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, David.
A deputy manager from the Economic Regulation Division of the Commission, Bengal Show.
It's been a pleasure.
And another deputy manager, but this time from the Stakeholders Management Division of NERC, Mr. Simon Sunday.
It's been all a pleasure here.
And a senior manager, Economic Regulation Division of NERC, Abdulaziz Alowa.
Thank you very much, listeners. We'll look forward to another session.
Thank you all for your insightful contributions and for coming on the program tonight. Appreciation to the production team, studio manager Phineas Odoyo, facilitator Conrad Labi, producer Sunday Gotche. Special thanks to our executive producer Sushima Key. I'm David Umar. See you next Monday for another interesting edition of Electricity Town Hall. Goodbye.